Hello, Facebook Live world. You just caught me checking my watch because I was wondering, when is it noon? When are we going live? I'm so excited to be back here today. You have made my job really fun. This was obviously something born out of something else, but you found it so valuable that we're going to keep coming back as long as you're willing to come and ask these questions. And so thank you so much for tuning in with us, for asking your questions, and for making this a valuable conversation, not just for us who are here live, but for everybody who tunes in after this live 30 minutes and asks their questions all week long, because these replay on our Facebook page, and you can find them on our website as well if you've missed a past episode. So again, thank you. You make it possible that we are here, and we just hope that we continue to answer the questions that you have for us. So we're going to let a few more people get in here. If you'll do me a favor, and if you will give me a heart or a thumbs up, I did that backwards, but if you'll give me a heart or a thumbs up and let me know you're here, or say I'm here, so that we can see you and acknowledge you, that would be wicked awesome. Today, I've got Summer Neal, who is our social studies instructional coach, and she's also a curriculum specialist. We've got Jillian Bolding, who's our science instructional coach and curriculum specialist. And then we've got the amazing Kaden Griffin, who is an EPIC student who has used some of our curriculum and can give us the student's point of view, because we can tell you from an adult's perspective what we think about things, but sometimes hearing it from the horse's mouth is necessary. And Kaden, that's an expression, just in case you didn't catch that. I'm not calling you a horse. Please don't get offended, okay? So real quickly, let's run through this panel. Summer, tell me about what it is to be a social studies curriculum specialist and a social studies coach and curriculum specialist.
Yes, thank you, Erin. I am the social studies instructional coach for EPIC, and essentially what that means is I create supplemental social studies lessons to supplement core curriculums, and then I am also the curriculum specialist for Apex and StrongMind.
Excellent. Very good. So same question, Jillian. What does it mean to be a science instructional coach and a curriculum specialist?
So I manage two of EPIC's big core curriculum, BrightThinker and Waterford. BrightThinker is a core curriculum for our 3rd through 12th graders, and Waterford is a core choice for our pre-K through 2nd graders. So as the science coach, I help teachers in all things science. So I help them find supplementals if needed for students to help them in certain topics. And I make sure they have the resources needed to prepare those students for the 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade state science tests.
Excellent. And thank you for that. The information you guys have provided, not just to our students, but also to our teachers and helping them out with resources, definitely enriches the student's perspective here. And so thank you for that so much. Kaden, you're an EPIC student. How long have you been with EPIC? And tell us what your typical day looks like.
I've been in EPIC for, I think, 4 years. And typically I do Apex, and my typical day, I work on school, but I can also take more breaks. And sometimes we travel. And that's about it.
And so that time when you travel, it's are you still able to do your schoolwork when you're traveling?
Yes, anywhere that I have Wi-Fi, I can do my school.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So I want to get a couple of things out of the way before we start taking some of the engagement questions here. Summer, what are some things that draws a student to the StrongMind curriculum?
Well, the number one reason that students really like StrongMind is the content that is available. It's highly engaging. It's completely online. It's very easy for the teacher to supplement. And there's lots of videos and different projects that they can do. So they have the ability to really get engaged with the content in the courses. It's also set up in a way that's really easy for the student to navigate. It has each semester has 6 units. Each unit is set up into 5 lessons, and so it's very easy for the student to follow along and do all of the work that's necessary to complete the courses. The other really nice thing about it is that it's based on the Canvas LMS, and so that's a learning management system that's used on a college level, so it helps prepare the student to be ready to work on those college level courses.
Wow, and that is huge. What a great head start for those kids. Jillian, same question to you, but you've got BrightThinker. What draws a kid to BrightThinker? What are some of the features that BrightThinker has that parents might want to know about?
Right, for BrightThinker, to me, it's like they've taken a textbook and they've broken it up into little bite-sized units. It's a solid core. It's really super easy to follow for the students. Each course has 10 units. And by the time a student reaches the unit test, they would have seen that concept like in the lessons, in the lesson activity questions, in the quizzes, and then there's a practice test. So like, for example, if you open up a unit, there's always the objectives that are listed. So straightforward, the student knows what to expect. And as a teacher and a parent, I like to use those objectives at the front as like a study guide too. Okay, so it tells you exactly what you need to learn within that unit. And at the end, you can always go back to the objectives and use that as a study guide. Like, can you list those things now yourself, you know? So there'll be a lesson, there'll be activity questions for that lesson. Maybe there'll be another lesson and then activity questions for that lesson and then a quiz. And then there'll be more lessons and a quiz. And at the end of that, you'll have a practice test, which is awesome. And then your unit test. I like the way how vocab is presented, and they'll re-present it too to make sure that there's mastery. They'll have explanations, examples, illustrations, interactive media. It's legit. It's a pretty solid core. The other thing I was going to mention are the electives. So there's a wide range of electives available for high school and also for your 3rd through 8th graders. You can request for your teacher to add other electives, just kind of like for fun enrichment as well, like art and music that kiddos can do just as an enrichment kind of on their own, as well as their core, you know, like math, reading, science, social studies. So BrightThinker, it's a good one.
Awesome. And Jamie just said, I love that. Thank you, Jamie. I do too. This is awesome. I love getting to talk about these curriculum options. Let me see here. Diana wants to know, will we be able to answer questions about MobyMax? And Diana, I see your question, and just so you know, we're getting to that one next Friday, so definitely tune in. And we're going to hit not just the core curriculums, but we're going to start sprinkling in some of those supplemental curriculums as well, so that you can decide how to enrich the program that your kiddos are already a part of. Okay. Let me see here. Kaden, would you do me a favor and talk to me about the Apex platform? What is it that might draw a student to Apex?
It's very flexible. Like you can, I've spent more time on a subject that I've had trouble with, and it does kind of give you the ability to know what you know, because there's the study, then there's the video, and then there's reviews. So they really do hammer in the stuff that you need to know.
Okay.
You can also go on your own pace.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I cut you off. Go ahead. Keep going. You can go on your own pace,
which allows for you getting ahead. If you're behind, it's not too much of a struggle as it usually would be. And I do like those.
Good. So we've got a few questions coming through, and Caden, I'm going to bring this one right back to you. Delina wants to know, I would like my student to be able to do partial online, partial offline, and how will that work with Apex? First, before you get into that, I wanted to remind people that Apex has a practice worksheet for every single unit. I mean, every single lesson. And so you can print those practice worksheets to be a more enriching part of that curriculum also. But Caden, you have offline work too. Am I right in that?
I did in my 6th grade and some in my 7th grade, but 8th grade, I started doing strictly online.
And so Delina, to answer your question, if a parent would like the option to go offline with some of that stuff, that's just a conversation you have with your teacher, and you guys decide how much online, offline needs to happen and how you will, keep track of those things. Summer, did you have something to add? I saw your hand maybe go up.
Yes. One of the great things about Apex is that for every unit, it has note-taking guides. And so as the student is working on their online course, those can be printed off, and they can write and take notes alongside. And this is a wonderful thing to have, because studies have shown that when you have when you have the ability to take notes not on an online format, it increases the long-term how it increases how much you are able to retain. And so by having those study guides that the student can fill out, they have the ability to really reinforce the concepts that they're learning through the online curriculum. And Apex is one of those courses that has that for every single class. And so that really helps. Plus the additional math worksheets that you were talking about really help the student be able to learn those concepts and practice those concepts. So for what that's worth,
yeah,
it's a big. That's the greatest things for Apex.
So let me see here. We've got a few more questions. Keith wants to know, would you say any of these curriculum options are good for a kid whose attention span is short, who is very physically active, and more of a hands-on than visual sort of learner? And before we get into that answer, and I'm going to let each of you talk a little bit to that, as much as, so if you missed the last curriculum chat, you can go back to it, but I'm going to just say it here again. Yes, we will work around some of those challenges that your student has, while also trying to grow your students in those areas. But do either of you guys have an opinion on whether or not it's more hands-on than visual?
Yeah, StrongMind has really focused on this. They have chunked all of their lessons so that they're very short and very concise, and they reiterate the lessons throughout. StrongMind is for grades 6 through 8. I'm sorry, 6 through 12. And so they have really focused on how to get the content in the most concise way in a small chunk, and review that concept constantly throughout each of the lessons. So that, and they also have a lot of projects that they do, so that are embedded within the curriculum. And so that also reinforces for those kids who are a little more active and don't necessarily need to be online all of the time.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought up the projects, because that is one of the biggest pieces that drew me to StrongMind. I love the StrongMind curriculum for that. Sometimes I think getting a kid to think critically and problem solve through projects is definitely a turn on for igniting a fire or a passion in their education. Jillian, how about you? Will the BrightThinker, is it more visual, or are there any hands-on aspects to that curriculum?
would say that it's pretty visual, but there are hands-on activities and even labs sometimes sprinkled in, especially in science, which is really awesome. There is a demo account that you could log into right now and check it out for yourself. Is it okay to share that, Erin?
Everybody.
I'm going to go with yes. I didn't hear you.
Yes, we put it in the show notes for everybody to see and utilize.
Okay, so you can just go to epicokdemo.thebrightthinker.com. So epicokdemo.thebrightthinker.com. And Epic has a student demo account set up for you. So it's one thing me just kind of telling you about it, but why don't you go ahead and log on and check it out for yourself. The username is student.demo. It's all lowercase, student.demo. And the password is epic1234. It's all lowercase, epic1234. So I think there's about 5 courses on there on the course card that you can check out. And you'll notice some hands-on stuff like labs, I was saying, but then a lot of media enriched activities too.
Absolutely. And Caden, so that you don't have to use any academic vocabulary or anything, I'm just going to go ahead and speak to the Apex. I would say Apex is not very super hands-on. The labs are dry labs. You're going to do a lot of reading content. But the great thing about Apex for attention span is that the lessons are kind of condensed into a smaller time frame, basically. In some of our curriculum options, you'll need to spend upwards to an hour in a lesson to get complete, where with the Apex curriculum, you can complete a lesson in about 30 to 40 minutes, and that appeals to students a lot of the time. That was a great question. I've got another question here. Let me see. Jenny wants to know, can you explain again about electives with BrightThinker? I have a 4th and a 6th grader. Now, electives, most of the time when we're talking about electives, we're talking about high school kids, because those high school kids have to have 6 classes per semester to work through their high school career. If we have electives for a younger one, it's because they've requested it. But are there, you want to speak to the electives, Jillian, for BrightThinker?
Sure. So for our 3rd through 8th graders, you know, your kiddo will be automatically put in math and reading and science and social studies. And that's what their grades will be for. But just you as a parent or the student, if they are interested in, let's say, art, right? And you want that enrichment for your student just at home, there might not be like a grade taken on it, but hey, BrightThinker has an online 3rd grade art elective for fun, let's say, for enrichment. And you can request that type of stuff from your teacher. And then people at Epic can load that course into their login. So they would have their reading, their math, their science, their social studies, as well as the fun enrichment art class, which that might pull your student in and get them interested, you know, if art was their thing. So let me just go through the list really quickly. Let's see. So for 3rd through 5th grade, so 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade in BrightThinker, the optional electives that can be added are art, and then there's health and music. Okay, so art, health, and music. And then for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, there's art, music, and then there's theater, which is interesting. So if that is something that you think might be great for enrichment, then for sure mention that to your teacher, and BrightThinker can get those added for you. For the high school electives, oh, they have awesome electives. And I'm a science person, right? So they have fun science, other science electives like aquatic science. But if you go to just our epiccharterschools.org website and click on core and then curriculum, you'll see a link for BrightThinker there. And it lists out all of these courses I'm talking about, the electives and everything, with a description too. So hopefully that helps.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Amanda wants to know, how do the extracurriculars work with the online curriculum? And so, Amanda, I'm going to take that one. It's kind of one of those things that's in addition to, especially for the younger grades outside of high school. These are things that you're doing to motivate, to excite your kid about learning. Outside of that, there are things like homeschool band and orchestra. There are theater opportunities and sports opportunities. These are things that you can be awarded portfolio credit for. And so you'll want to talk to your teacher about what portfolio credit looks like. But they are to, again, add to the robustness of the education for the student. And so if a kiddo participates in homeschool band, let's say, they would go to those the weekly lessons with the band. They would do their lessons on their own. They would track their hours. And then you could possibly receive that portfolio credit in addition to what they're doing online. And so if you need a more specific answer, type it out, and I hope I got the gist of what you were asking there. Let me see here. We have several more questions. A lot of people are just really excited. Keith, I'm glad that answered your question. Brandy, it doesn't matter if you join late. We're not discussing all curriculums. We'll touch on extracurriculums, but we're just talking about a few today. We're talking about StrongMind, BrightThinker, and Apex. And I did put Embark in the graphic, but we are not offering Embark this year. There were just not enough people who chose to go with Embark, and so we kind of dissolved that partnership. Let me see here. My twins are going to be 10th graders to Epic. They're excited. We were told there weren't too many AP courses this year through Edgenuity, but that we were directed to Apex honors courses similar to AP. Okay, so just so you know, Mona, that's a great question. And Apex is the only curriculum that we will be using to honor AP this year. There are not a lot of options. This is the first year AP is a part of Epic. And so we want to make sure that we're doing it right before we start adding more options. But we'll throw the class list into the chat so you can see what options we are going to use. But that is not through Edgenuity, that is through Apex. Let me see. Amanda wants to know, do you have to pay to get the extras? And Amanda, that's a great question too. There is a learning fund that is allocated to each student. And so what we do is we choose your curriculum first, technology second, and then based on the remaining funds, you decide what extra supplements come in and help your student with everything you need. If that fund runs out for the year, then you will definitely need to pay on your own outside of that. But in no other school do you get this many options that you get the opportunity to not have to pay for, because the state is allowing you to decide what your student is into. I hope that helps answer your question. Let me see
and
here. Go ahead.
As far as maybe she's talking about like the extra electives, as far as that, like with BrightThinker, if you purchase BrightThinker as your online core, then those electives would be included if you want that. And one extra thing I was going to throw in about BrightThinker is it is an online core curriculum, but for an additional purchase through the Learning Fund, you can purchase a PDF version as well that the student can use to follow along with their online curriculum. So just kind of like made me think of it with a hands-on approach. That's an option for the kiddos too. It's not required, but it's an option.
That's such a great point. And so a lot of families, including myself with my own daughters, use a PDF version or the book version. I'm thinking of teaching textbooks in particular. We'll get the online version of it, but we'll also purchase the book. The book is identical to the online version, but what I want is for my kids to answer the question in the book and then check their answer in the online curriculum. And so I love that there's an opportunity to do that. And then honestly, as a mama, I don't have to grade that work, and I know that their teacher is going to appreciate that as well. Let me see here. I've got more questions. I want to try to get to everybody. Lisa, I'm glad your kids love the 3rd, 5th, and 7th grade art. That is awesome. Let me see here. how do I know if my teacher is an AP Apex teacher? That's a great question as well. We have one AP teacher that will be taking care of all the AP classes. And so you'll have a teacher for Apex and for your students, but then managing that AP class will be a different teacher. And that goes, I saw a communication about foreign language earlier as well. That is the same way our foreign language goes. You'll have a teacher for the curriculum you choose, and then you will have a separate foreign language teacher. According to the state of Oklahoma, several things have to be brought to you by a highly certified person, and so we want to make sure we honor that. We do have AP-specific teachers and foreign language-specific teachers as well. Let me see. Wow, the questions are lighting up. I love that you guys are hearting and liking things. Let me see. Can you use a different core curriculum and use BrightThinker for just the electives? Nikki, that's a great question. I believe you can still order 2 core curriculum. That may have changed this year, but I'll get you more information on it, even if I have to reach out to you alone, Nikki. You would just have to pay for both core curriculum options. And so that's not super desirable to most people. Let me get to the next question. First year, Angie, I'm so excited that you're here for your first year. Cami says, I heard we're no longer having to pay for the PDF version of BrightThinker. It's supposedly built in this year. Do you know anything about that, Jillian?
Yes, I do know that they have allowed the printing option for BrightThinker. So when you log into your online curriculum, allow printing does work this year, but it's just not as pretty. Does that make sense? It's just not as pretty as the PDF packaged version.
Okay, and so if you're looking for pretty, which just so you know, several students will be. If it were me, I'd need to be able to look at the curriculum and get into it. Caden, will you speak specifically to how important it is to be able to enjoy the curriculum you're getting into each day?
It does help to enjoy it. It makes it more engaging and easier to move ahead in, because often there's times where I would not enjoy a curriculum and it would leave me not feeling quite as successful whenever I finish it. So I do think enjoying it is very, what's the word? Necessary.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I spoke with a parent the other day who he preferred this, and this, and kind of wanted to know the ins and outs of them. And I said, you know, I gave him the ins and outs of them. But when it came down to it, I said, now, which one does your kiddo prefer? And he says, you know, we're going to let him look at them next, because that's the thing. If the kiddo will get into the curriculum, half of your battles for the school year are gone. There are some core curriculum we offer that if I were a student here, I don't know that I'd be very successful because I just don't like the color scheme of it. And there are others that shoot the video rich stuff. That's what I'd be really into. But I know other kids are like, oh my goodness, do I have to watch the whole video? I already know this. So getting the curriculum that your kiddo likes to look at is definitely important too. So if you've whittled it down to 2 or 3, let your student get in and see those 2 or 3 and help push that decision. Let me see. Can you make BrightThinker prettier by pushing the page to print and save it as a PDF? It prints perfectly every time, and I've never paid for the PDF. Thank you, Lisa. That's a great hack, and I appreciate that. Let me see. Delana, does Caden use the print versions? How long a day does he work in his Apex school curriculum? Okay, so Caden, can you answer that? Do you print the materials at all, or do you just use the online portion? And then how long each day does it take you to do your schoolwork?
So I typically don't print anything because I'm pretty good at looking at the computer. But I do write notes a ton about everything, especially during the videos. I'd write like a ton of notes about it. So that helps me on the physical side of things. Each day, like really, I wish I could give a clear answer, but it's like some days I'll spend like all day, some days I'll spend like 2 hours.
Awesome. And it probably has something to do with your pacing and also the class load that you're taking. I would suppose that, you know, some of the classes that you're taking that are a little more difficult would last a little bit longer, and some that you are a whiz at, you breeze through. Is that correct?
Yes. Like history, I'm very good at reading something and comprehending it. So typically I'm like almost done with the full semester of history by the time I'm halfway through done with math. But I can also breeze by history to let me focus more on math.
Okay, good, very good. So I want to honor the time here. We're already over the 30-minute allotment. Summer, talk to the parents real quick about StrongMind one more time. What are the pros, what are the cons, and why choose StrongMind?
The biggest pro is how much the students just love the content, to be completely honest. Probably the only drawback to it is that there isn't as much offline work in it. It's almost completely online. But the one thing that I hear as feedback more than any other thing is how much the kids like the content, the videos, the projects that are involved. StrongMind has a Facebook presence, a Twitter presence, and an Instagram presence, so you can check them out there. They also have a demo that you can use, and we can put that in the in your post stuff, your post information. But it is at strongmind.com, and it's demo and student success 1 is the password. And you know, for the most part, the kids just love the curriculum and they fly through it, and they're scoring so well on their tests that it's amazing. It's a rigorous program, but it's a great program, and the kids love it.
Excellent. Hi, Yana. Hi, Yolanda. Some of my past students on here shouting out. I just wanted to make sure I shouted out to you too. Jillian, tell me why BrightThinker?
Like I said earlier, the way it's set up, it's just super easy for a student to follow. Like the outline of it is pretty much the same for each course. And the enrichment with the electives, again, I think is a plus to BrightThinker. It's really easy for the student to see their score and their progress through each course too. So visually, it's easy to look at. And their support system at BrightThinker is unbelievable. So their technical support that they have right there for you, for parents and students to even reach out to, is a super plus for BrightThinker.
Yes, very good. And Kaden, why should a student choose Apex?
I know I've already mentioned it, but the ability to be flexible especially helps, especially if you have stuff going on in day-to-day life. You don't have to sit down for 7 hours and work on your school. You can catch up other times. You can just do it off and on. And I just like the ability to being interrupted doesn't necessarily kill the ability for me to do school.
Oh. Boom. There you go. You heard it. Thank you so much to my panel for joining us today. We'll continue to answer questions that you have even after this post is done. So I just wanted to let you know, on Monday, we're going to be talking about the Learning Fund. People want to know how to utilize it and what is covered, what will not be covered, and what the purpose and design is. So until next time, thank you so much for making Epic a top place to work and to learn.